Ooh hoo hoo. Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you. Hope you can see me too. Hold on one second while I'm fooling with everything right here. Okay, I can see you now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I feel like I'm a bit off center here. Let me see if I can drag. No, I can't. I was going to say, let me see if I can drag myself back over here. Hang on. A few technical things, but we got there in the end. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Jane, you are on this morning in sunny Wales. That sounds beautiful. Can't wait. Hope things are going well with you. Melissa, great to see you. The show is about Melissa today. This is going to be an amazing show. Wait till you see. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so glad that you're sharing your work, and I'm so happy for that exhibit at the Struts Gallery. It looked like it was incredible. And anything else you want to tell us about that event, please put it into the thread because we want to hear as much as possible about that. Linda H., good to see you in hot and sunny Massachusetts. Great to see you. Linda B., hello, good to see you. It's a quiet chat this morning, which is absolutely fine. It just makes me wonder. I did put the thing up in the Facebook group, right? That was up there, no problem. Maybe we're just getting to some busier days. We'll see. But I know a lot of people, there's usually about 400 people that watch it by the end of the day. So we'll expect those buddies too. Let me just get my paperwork ready. Been racing around a little bit because you know I'm headed on a trip at about 4 in the morning. I guess that's tomorrow. Is it even the next day when it's that early? We will see. But I've got some great content for today. Let's see, Judy. Great to see you, Judy. I sent off that little thing for you, so that'll be there soon. Great to see everybody. So where to begin? Let's begin at the beginning because there's a lot happening right now at Ribbon Candy Hooking. I just remembered another thing I wanted to do. I was busy this morning and a little bit yesterday with working on the Joe Moore patterns. Those are coming to Ribbon Candy Hooking in the next couple days. You will start seeing those extraordinary patterns being loaded onto the Ribbon Candy Hooking website. So you'll see that happening while I'm away in Delaware. I'll post. We're going to drop them in sort of piecemeal, like a soft launch, because that's the fastest way to get them to you. So be looking for those in the near future. Struts Gallery, great to see you. You can see me, right? Can you just confirm that you can see me? I just want to be sure because I had a little bit of a little game as I was logging on this morning. Just want to be sure. So there's a few other things happening. Let me bring you over to the What's Happening Today page. I'm really hoping for because it does say I'm live, so I should be okay, right? I should be okay. Give me a little, yes, excellent. Thank you, Rita. Appreciate it. It was hard to tell. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so let's come over here and let's do a little bit of business first so that we can launch into the next phase of the show. This afternoon, just to let you know, I keep forgetting to mention this, there was a bunch of people logged on to the first color and composition class that we did a couple of weeks ago. And the second one, which is the last one for the time being, I won't be running this again in the immediate future, things being as busy as they are. But this is the same program as the other night. You get 2 chances to see it whenever you sign up for something with me. There's usually 2 chances. The second chance is this afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a class about color theory, understanding the color wheel, making personal choices about color, composition, what compositions work the best, historically what has been the most popular, which of those kinds of compositions work best with, for example, rug compositions, right? Because it's not like designing a platter or something. It's very specific what we do. So Lisa, good to see you. Good morning. Lisa, I sent you a message because I realized that I had not used the amazing content you sent me at the Coverlet Museum. So we're going to do that next week for sure. I'm so sorry about that. It's definitely time to look at the Coverlet Museum stuff too. That was me dropping the ball. Boom, bounce, bounce, bounce. So this is coming up this afternoon. It is not too late to sign up for it. All you need is a paper and a pencil. So I will be logging on and I will send you the Zoom information if you sign up between now and then. Going to be a very fun afternoon talking about color and composition. It's a very lively slideshow with a lot of conversation, a lot of games, a lot of exercises, a lot of fun. So I am headed off to Delaware and doing a few things there. And you know, the main thing that I'm doing there, well, the purpose for the trip is to drop off the Van Gogh exhibit rugs to Shannon Carter because she's going to be mounting the next leg of the Van Gogh rug exhibit in Delaware. So I thought I would just drive down there because I have so many buddies down there. So there's a bunch of stops that I'm going to make. The class, Rita, is at 2 Eastern Standard Time, 2 to 5. Eastern Standard Time, and the link to it is in the description of this video. So it'd be great to see you. So I'm putting a bunch of things together while I'm there. I'm hoping on Friday, and I will let you know because I'm just confirming with Melinda. Let me see if she wrote back. Remember Melinda Bird of Bird Call Studio in Maryland. That's a couple of hours south. So I'm going to be headed there. My plan is on Friday. And if that doesn't work, I'm just checking to see if she wrote while I was driving. Nope. She's probably on her way in and going to check messages soon. So my plan is to visit with Melinda at Bird Call Studio on Friday and do a video there. I want to work for myself. We're talking about Rhea rugs when we talk about Melinda Bird. And remember, we covered this book, and it's just so exciting talking about Rhea rugs. And looking at them. And remember that her parents were the people who really brought the craft from Scandinavia to the United States, like late mid-century kind of era. So we're going to be talking about all that great history, her family history, looking at some new supplies, old supplies. I bought like one of each color of the wool that was still left from her parents from years ago that had been in storage. I bought that. One of each color. I left tons, but I wanted to do something with it because I know that it belonged to them. And I want to work on a design, which I'll have to come up with in my head on this drive because I haven't had time yet. But I want to work out a design with her and do a video in person looking at how to make these Rhea rug knots. So I think this will be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. My plan for that is a Friday morning. So be looking for videos to be announced both in our Facebook group, which is Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club, and also on the YouTube platform. I realized that there were some videos when I went to Vermont, like shopping in stores with Kirsten, and I recorded some videos that hit Facebook but never hit YouTube because, you're probably ahead of me on this, there was music playing in the background. Like, for example, Karma Chameleon. Karma, karma, karma. And as a result, I can't post that video because it's locked because of copyright. And if I remove the song from it, so that doesn't help us at all. So funny. I'm going to be really conscious of that recording the next set of videos. I think it was just one video that bounced to my email for that reason. So if you're on the Facebook group, you've caught everything up to date so far. I have one more video, a long video to post with Kirsten looking at her Paisley, looking at a Paisley shawl and talking about the history of Paisley and what was special about that particular shawl. So that could be very interesting for rug hookers. It's just going to take some time for me to get that online. But be looking for videos and updates about videos that are about to happen while I'm on this trip, because it's going to be a many video trip. So I will certainly be stopping to see Melinda, hopefully on Friday, possibly on Sunday, to be continued. And we're going to have a big, heavy, and inspiring dose of Rhea rugs. And on Saturday, I will be with this extraordinary group. So this is part of the Wilmington group, right? In this picture, we're going from left to right. That's me, looking like I've had a lot of surgery on my face. I have never had surgery anywhere. I can guarantee you if I had spent that money, I would look a lot better. But looking very weird. But this was last year. This was, I think, last April. And then my mom, and then in the front row, that's my friend Janice, who came to this event. This was at the Florence Griswold Museum when we were looking at the bed rugs and quilts. And in the back, Lois, she is in the Wilmingtons, and to her right, Cindy, and in the white shirt, Dee, my good buddy, and then my friend Jan over to the right. So 3 of these ladies are in the Wilmingtons in Delaware, and I will be there starting at 9 a.m. I put the information on our Facebook group as well. If you need the info, I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't want to change screens, but I posted the information in the Facebook group. I will be there just hanging out, getting hugs, talking, chatting, visiting. I would say I'd be working on a project, but I'm not really sure that that's going to happen. From, I would say, safely 9 a.m. to noon, because then I'm going to have to move on and do some other stuff. But I will be visiting with some of our friends who you know very well if you watch the show. Colleen Tiefenthal is going to be there, and I'm hoping to squirrel away some time in the evening to look at her studio, her actual studio, Beach Nut Studio. She's one of my favorite rug hookers and one of my favorite designers. Um, and Shannon's going to be there, of course, who's on with us often. And then these ladies who I just mentioned, Lois, Cindy, and Dee. So, and then a bunch of other Wilmingtons who I'm not sure I've met yet. So that's going to be really fun. And you, if you are in the area, you are very welcome. Dee said, everybody is welcome always. And if you are in that area and you don't know this group yet, it's not all ruggers, right? There's some ruggers, there's some quilters, there's some embroiderers. People do different things, but they get together on a very regular basis. If you're in the area and you don't know this group yet, get ready to meet your best friends. They are like like literally wild and crazy, fun group. Fun. You can't be uptight around this group. It's just not possible. Very fun. So I'm looking forward to that on Saturday morning. And if you are there, I will look forward to seeing you there too. The book is not out yet, so I'm only going to have maybe 3 or 4 copies of the book. That's what I have in my box that I'm left with. Before the book does come out. So it's not a signing event, it's just a hanging out, getting together event. Another thing that I got planned this morning was the next Hookalong. So the next Hookalong, live Hookalong, you know, when I put the camera on for hours, I'm going to limit it to 2 to 3 hours, because sometimes if I'm there for 4 hours, I feel like I might be growing roots in the ground, like Tolkien style. The next Hookalong for me is this pattern, and I'm going to be executing it as a mini punch pattern because I've been loving it. Is fun, Jane. I can't wait. The trip is going to be amazing. Good morning, Lisa. I did say good morning, didn't I? Because I remembered about the coverlets that I was stupid enough to drop the ball on. This cat is based on the Maud Lewis cat, right? The famous Maud Lewis cat. Now, Maud Lewis's work has been out of copyright since January of 2023, in case you're wondering. So I have a whole series of designs that are based on the Maud Lewis cats. She had many cats in her lifetime, and she called them all Fluffy. So this is Fluffy has Watermelon, and I'm going to be doing this as a mini punch project. This is the color scheme, but obviously I haven't done it yet. So this is now available as a kit. The link is in the body, the description of this video that you're watching. This will be the color scheme that is kitted. Same as before, on a coil ring with those plastic cards that are reusable. And the idea is to use them every time you work on something. Keep them on your like giant, it's an oversized ring, right? It's like a cable. And all of these little cards on it, right? So that'll be all kitted up for you. But because so many people bought the Split Bloom Garden, I know that not a lot of people, not everybody who wants to do this Hookalong project with me, this specific image, I know not everybody needs that stuff. So I have separately now, this is also a link in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store. This is going to be the punch that I go with in the future. The vintage punches are gone or almost gone. I'm going to go with this one because you can do a very, very fine punch with it. This is an embroidery needle, right? This isn't even really called a punch needle. It has that soft grip, and you can do the different heights of loops. So far, out of all of the ones that I've been trying, this one is my favorite, and this one is as close to the Pretty Punch. It's interchangeable, except it has 2 different tips. So you could do super, 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 super fine Valdani kind of thickness of fiber to like a beefier sock yarn that I've been able to use in the Pretty Punch. So I like this needle. I like this needle. And this pack comes with another, I want to say square frame, but it's actually 8 by 9. So the one that came with Split Bloom Garden was an 11-inch square frame, and that was because Split Bloom Garden was larger. If you have that one, great. But if you work on smaller projects like the Fluffy series, you might want this frame that's a little bit smaller, 8 by 9. So that's available as a separate product, so you don't have to buy it twice. And these are the sketches I did of the Fluffy series that are now up on Ribbon Candy Hooking. There are 2 links, one for mini punch kits, so any of these 20 patterns as a mini punch kit, and then there is a separate and different link for any of these patterns as a rug hooking or traditional punch, different scale, right, pattern. So both of these links, I didn't want to put them as the same link because I thought that's too confusing. But I have 5 designs for each of the 4 seasons, making 20 designs. So if you're trying to do something seasonal through the year, you can kind of pick 4, or you could just pick 1 and do it as a larger size rug for the wall if something has special meaning for you. Just to let you know, one is reversed, but it's not reversed in real life. I just put it into the compilation reversed. The scuba diver, second from the top northwest corner. the scuba diver would be flipped because all of the fluffies are the same orientation. That's the whole point. But going through the year with Fluffy, I just have been loving this. You know how, and I know a lot of you do this too, because whenever I say these things, people write and say, I do that too. Sometimes when I'm overwhelmed or depressed, which I'm not right now, I'm perfectly fine and happy. Just kidding. No, I'm good, but crazy. And sometimes when I get frenetic and crazy and stressed, I start in on projects that I can't stop. Do you do this too? And for example, remember my food faces that I painted for Jocelyn's carnival, like 10 food faces in like a matter of days, waking up at crazy hours of the night to paint another food face that you throw like a, they're like, and you throw a beanbag in, it's a carnival thing. Stuff like that. This was the fluffies, right? I got into the fluffies in a food face way and I couldn't stop. So I did 20 of those and I'm going to punch all of them. And as I showed you the other day, this one I did punch already. This is not the one for the Hookalong. The watermelon is the one for the Hookalong and I'll be punching that with you. And then I started this one that I showed you too, the Fluffy's having his lobster dinner. So I'm going to do the 5 summer ones first. I'm going to do the summer ones in this summer. Because honestly, these take a day to punch, not even. So that's there. That's a new product that's coming up. I am super, super happy and excited about the fluffies. It's going to be very fluffy summer for me. Now, let's move on to the main event. So, Melissa, tell me if I'm pronouncing your surname wrong. Because Melissa, I love you. I love this work. I love the names of your projects. I love the projects themselves. I love everything about you. I have such a crush on Melissa. She is just amazingly fantastic and stylish and fun and smart and literary and talented and colorful and love you. Do you pronounce your last name Gauthier? Because that's always how I pronounce that last name, and I'm not sure that I was ever right. So if that's wrong, please correct me phonetically in the thread. And I should have asked you before. But beautiful picture of Melissa. This is, I think, is this you at the gallery, at the Struts Gallery in, it's Sackville, New Brunswick, right? I love your tattoo too. I'm wondering what that is of. Yeah, you're exactly the kind of person that if I saw you, I would walk straight towards you and try to strike up a conversation because I can tell that there's so many interesting things about you that are just glowing in the air like this great aura, Hello, Hopeful Holomakes. Good to see you this morning. So the setup is, and Melissa, since you're on, correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, but this was like a gallery exhibit at a gallery called Struts Gallery. I think it's Sackville, New Brunswick. And you had your exhibit set up and you had a place set up where people could drop in, where you were to be found sitting at your rug hooking frame working on pieces. And this to me is like the ultimate and ideal setup because you were there, your work was exhibited, right? And most people, I think in Canada, rug hooking in general is better known than it is, for example, in most parts of the US, even New England. So people were able to drop in. Now, I'm sure that you caught some people, right, just droppers in, who were like, what is this stuff? Raw cooking? Just kidding. But like, what is it? Never seen it before. How are you doing it? I mean, I got this question the other day. I went into a bookstore and I said, I'm looking for books on rug hooking. And to be honest, I don't know which ones because I think I have them all. And if I don't know they exist and I'd be happy to discover them. And he said, thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Good. He said, what's rug hooking? And I said, well, it's like, it's a form of rug making. And he said, what kind of machine do you need to do it? And I thought, oh, that's a different one. Because sometimes people will say, is it a loom or whatever? People just don't know, do they? And that's why it's so important and so much fun to put yourself out there in public situations, whether it's a gallery or a library or a festival or whatever. And to have people see you doing a hooking project, that's a really big deal for us in terms of keeping the craft alive. Because I think when people see it, they go, oh, it's not such a mystery, is it? It looks like she's going like this, right? She is. So I'm so glad that you did this, Melissa. This is so cool. And this was the ad for it. Free drop-in rug hooking sessions. No experience needed. Learn the fundamentals of rug hooking with Melissa Gauthier, said it right, at Struts Gallery from 2 to 4. Drop in for one or all. So you had like devoted time on these 3 days where people could drop in. Melissa did a lot of the tattoo is Elvis. You love Elvis, don't you? That is like so, that is so funny. It's not funny. I mean, I find this is so weird. I find Elvis super handsome. I love music from that era, but I don't like Elvis. I don't know what it is. I like a few songs, but some of them, I don't know, they just sound so I guess I guess I'm a bit more jazzy. I'm just a little bit too jazzy. And I was like, she's really into Elvis, which is so cool, right? Because it's one of those iconic people that you can dig into forever and keep learning new stuff. Have you been to Graceland? I have to ask. I didn't actually read this yet. And Melissa, thank you for putting everything in the right order. I didn't realize it was in the right order. I wouldn't have been panicking yesterday. We had like a speed round of a game show on Facebook yesterday where I said to Melissa, "Are you ready?" and would send her an image and she'd send the titles. Image, title, image, title. If it was a game show, you would be a millionaire because it was like so fast. And incredibly, you were right with all the titles of your own work. But thank you for putting it in perfect order first. That was me being stupid. So this just seems like an amazing setup and an inspiration. And you know what I really love about this? And I'm going to stop running my mouth in a minute, but this is like an angle that is really important to me personally. You know, there is a great divide in rug hooking, right? In more ways than one. And one of the things that is happening currently with rug hooking is I'm going to be very careful about my words here because I have no opinion one way or the other, right? But there is a divide between people who are rug hookers and they're using it as textile art on a gallery track, and people who are rug hookers and do it the traditional way and aren't really gallery minded, but like it's just another form of art or expression. You know, more in the vein of the historic craft than like the highbrow kind of jet set scene of the gallery world. But Melissa, I feel like with this exhibit, particularly with you being there in person and being available and accessible, I feel like you crossed and you blurred that line in a huge way. And I think that's important because I think as rug hookers, being such a small, narrow craft, such a niche, that we really do have to stick together no matter how we do it or where we sell it and where we display it. I think we have to stick together. But there has been that sentiment, and I have felt it, right? And I damn well know that it exists because I have really felt it between people who are like very sort of highbrow, like, oh, I would only like to see my work in this gallery and I do not want to put it into this magazine or this book, like that kind of thing. That's not my favorite kind of thing personally, but everybody gets to be who they are, right? Viva la différence and all that stuff, but it is aggravating all the same. And I feel like you really blurred that line with this project. And that makes me so, so happy. Because why can't you have your work in a gallery and still be a super down to earth person who hooks the way that you do, Melissa, with like lots of like found leftover thrifty stuff, right? In the traditional historic way of hooking, right? Like I'm not going to lift it up too high. I'm going to use this, right? I don't think the camera caught the bottom half of that frame. But you know what I mean. It's and I guess I know so many people in the art world because I have a big art background too. Sometimes it's just too much for me. Sometimes it's just a big get over yourself. And Melissa is not like that at all. And it seems like you were the perfect person to have sitting in a gallery, speaking to people and introducing them to this craft because I'm sure that you made it super accessible, inclusive, and very appealing, right? Because your work is astonishingly pretty. And it shows an incredible amount of talent, right? It's not just pretty. So I'm so happy that this happened, and I'm so happy that it was you. Nothing against anyone else, of course. It's just, you know, I can think of a few people in the rug cooking world who I never mention on this show who would be the wrong person for this because they would back people up, I think, too much. Not you, Melissa. This is an amazing opportunity. And this is the piece that was not in the show, right? I just put it in because it's the piece I found it on your Facebook page, and it's the piece that was featured in the advertisement. So I'm guessing that in the course of sitting there, sorry, I clicked on the wrong button, you probably worked on more things as well that were not hanging on the walls because you were working on stuff. And you work really, really fast. You are in like that 0.1% of hookers who I know who hook really fast and really well. So I also love this piece. Is this called Words? I just love this piece. And again, this is not part of the gallery show, I don't think, but this was the advertisement on the flyer. I love the combination of the sort of lightly spun or loosely spun wool that has a little bit of a roving quality, the yarn, the cut strips. I'm seeing Jersey in the blue sky. I love the substitution of color, right? So you've got a sky, you've got some greens on the ground, some grays on the ground, all makes great sense. You've got blues in the sky, you've got pinks on a bar above. It's like you are putting lots of the same color, lots of different values, lots of versions of the same color into different parts of the composition. And it's forcing that color to read as like a unified color. The sky is blue, the ground is green, but it's not. It's made up of lots of different colors. This is my favorite style of hooking personally, because it's like, it's super artistic, isn't it? It's super artsy. Melissa says, yes, that's right. The words was the theme of the show. I see. So this was like the introductory piece, because it does look like it's on the wall of the Struts Gallery. And yeah, so this would be like you went in and you approached this one first. Is that how it was? And you were like, okay, I got the theme going now. God, this must have been fun. Melissa, did you say that you were doing this again, or did I dream that? Because you know I'm going to be coming up in October, so I don't think I dreamt it. But let's find out as much as we can. I also loved this picture. I was a real predator on your Facebook page, picking off these colorful pictures that were like eye candy. This says it all, doesn't it? It's like, here I am going to do this rug show thing at a gallery. Here is my laundry basket of my rugs. This is so perfect. It's just, I love the vibe that it gives. And with the self-portrait of you on the top, it's just like, man, what a picture. Doesn't that get your blood pumping? Rug hookers, rug hookers' blood is pumping right now. And this was your setup in the gallery. So they had you beautifully. Yes, okay, that's right. You're paranormal. Esther Cox, and you might be putting in the Lizzie Borden and the Fox sisters too. And maybe you have others. Should I not have said that? Maybe I should not have said that. Sorry. I'm going to be at the paranormal show, and Halloween month is the perfect month for that. I want to do a lot of stuff with you up there, like look at all of your stuff from forever. So this was your setup. This is your floor frame, Chetty Camp frame, in the corner of the gallery. This must have been phenomenal. I bet people, when they came in, approached, watched what you were doing. This is so good for everyone, right? You probably sent a lot of people away. Okay, good. Thinking, I might do this. Remember that sweater I haven't thrown out, but it's got a bunch of holes in it? Like, you probably sent a lot of people off with the best kind of bee in their bonnet, thinking, I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm buzzing away, and I am on it. Absolutely beautiful. I love your pink gaming chair as well. I have one of these for Teddy. He wanted it in pink. It wasn't available, but the pink one is absolutely beautiful. So let me start with the text. Hold on, that was a spoiler alert. But for Elvis fans, you're like, I know where she's going with this. I had to do a little research because I'm not such an Elvis person, but I think I'm going to listen to Elvis on the ride to Delaware just to get in the mindset with you. So this is the text that accompanied the exhibit. So the text that I'm reading today is by Melissa Gauthier, right? This is not my text. So this accompanied the gallery show. And the text said, the Pink Cadillac series. Story has it that shortly after legendary entertainer Elvis Presley settled into his Graceland home, 1957, he wanted some geese for his property. He jumped into his now famous 1958 pink Cadillac, as he knew exactly where to get them. After buying a bunch of birds, the king filled the Cadillac's back seat with noisy, muddy birds and drove back to Graceland with his new flock. This is the first time I'm reading this too. That is a fantastic story. That is such a crazy visual. Ryan, great to see you, my love. Great to see you. Oh, that is so funny. That is I can just see that, obviously, as a rug. I'm sure you can too. The pink Cadillac. Here's the pink Cadillac right here. And this is a 1958 pink Cadillac. So this must have been exactly the kind that he had. Looks like the roof might come down, right? It looks like a convertible, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know enough about cars, that's for sure. But God, this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. Mary Kay, eat your heart out with all those pink Cadillacs, right? Those were Cadillacs too. This one is really stellar. This series shares a bit of a road trip. This series shares a bit of a road trip Elvis might have taken to secure his beloved geese. So this is a great overarching story, right? Because this is like an active storyline. The construction that is layered on top of the exhibit is this story, and it is a journey. So it implies like being active and following along, right? So this is a great kind of premise for a show. Who knows to where he journeyed? I imagine it may have been a place not unlike my own hauntings, Catherine's place, the old general store, or perhaps a birch-like path that very much exists in my world of today. It's very romantic, very romantic. What state is Graceland in? Is it like, is it Mississippi? This is like so awful, but sometimes I confuse Graceland with Dollywood. Those would be different states, right? I need to spend more time in that part of the world, so I have more information embedded. But we're about to go on an adventure, and again, I just love the idea. You know, when you're doing a project like this, Melissa, I think you are a genius in every way. But when one is doing a project like this, it is great, I think, to have this kind of overarching idea that you can then populate, right? And if there are some commonalities in your rugs that you've already made that you could use them for an exhibit, or whether you are about to, I mean, Melissa hooks very, very quickly, but whether you are about to hook some stuff, you do want to kind of theme out a gallery show to make it that much more interesting. I think it makes it a bit more successful for viewers coming in and not knowing what to expect in a gallery setting, right? Can be off-putting for someone going in unless they're very comfortable and familiar with the idea of entering a gallery. You go in there and it's like you want to get it, right? You want to get it, because I think we all have had the experience of going into a gallery or a museum and looking around and going, I don't get it. And sometimes that can be a negative experience. You want to get it. And it's great to be able to go in and to have a storyline set out so that in your mind, you are half expecting something, right? And you, in your mind, are that much more likely to link the things that you're seeing, and thus they will be that much more meaningful and special when they strike you, when you see them and they strike you. Memphis, Tennessee, of course. Oh my gosh, of course. Memphis. I think they are in the state. Oh, they might be in the same state. I bet it's beautiful around there. Has anybody been? I bet there's people logged on from Memphis. I don't know Tennessee at all, but I bet it's absolutely beautiful around there. I would love to check that area out. Now, okay, let's get in. So now we know what the theme is, and now we are ready for an adventure. Let's have an adventure. This is the first piece, and this is called Swinging Birches. This is 2 and 3 ply wool, specialty and thicker yarns, wool fabric. The piece is about 12 and a half by 15, almost 16. Okay, there's 2 different dimensions because of that top bit, right? This is a shaped border. It's shaped at the bottom too, isn't it? Melissa, is it shaped at the bottom as well? It's like 3 it's like 3 panels that have some shift. Melissa, is this one piece or is it 3 pieces that you put together? It does have the feeling of a triptych for me, which is really positive. Oh, I'm seeing the pink Cadillac. Do you see the pink Cadillac, the front or the back of it over on the right? And then this is such a great crossover. This is super artsy, by the way. This is a proper gallery piece right here. This is like such a crossover because it has the story going and we know the backstory already, but it has all these folky elements, right? Like the animals are folky and familiar for people who are rug lovers, not art lovers per se. You know what I mean? And it has this great pattern-driven composition with all of this strong vertical thrust of all of these tree trunks. And then the repeat of the bunnies who share the color of the car, smart, right? The patterning of the trees against the blue sky. It is a color-changing yarn in the sky, but it's very soft and subtle. There's a lot of directional movement. It's almost like the sky and the black on the birch trees is moving a little bit diagonally too with the movement of the deer or buck, right, with the antlers. Absolutely stunning piece. Yes, 3 panels with the bunnies, bums lining up. Perfect. Oh, I see. So they are separate. You hung them together. So it is like a triptych. That is really, really cool. That is really cool. So this is from 2022. Flying through these birches, the animals are showing the way home to this pink Cadillac and her driver, and the gaggle in the front seat. It is a great and captured moment in time of the imagination. It really is, because you are weaving in here this imaginary journey as you imagine it, and sorry, just had to swallow, and the wildlife, right? And it's like this funny contrast between this beautiful, expensive pink machine and this beauty of nature, right? Nature's prevailing in this. We're just seeing a hint of the machine and of the work of man. Otherwise, it's just the work of Mother Nature here. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful piece. And the next piece is the title of this piece I love. The title is "I Am There Among Them," Matthew 18:20. 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty in thicker yarns, wool fabric. This piece is 14 by 13, and this is also 2022. Melissa, did you have this exhibit in mind while you were making these? Obviously you did, right? Because the pink Cadillac's in this too. But did you have this set up, or were you just thinking, you know, I'm going to do this because it's in my heart, and I'm going to find a place for it? Or had you already worked out that this could work, you know, at the Struts Gallery? And were you thinking from the start, why don't I do this as like an interactive, almost like what's the word? Oh God, where's my 4 art schools helping me out here? Performance art, right? It's almost like a moment of performance art, because you're looking at the art, but you are being further helped along by seeing someone who is there doing the thing, right? It has that element of performance art. I wonder how much of this you had in your head while you were planning this, because this must have been, even for someone who works as quickly as you, this must have been a titanic amount of planning. So I am there among them, Matthew 18:20. These geese are gathered around the pink Cadillac, incredibly interested in its tail fins. Now that is funny. That's like a joke within, right? Do they look oddly familiar? I am reminded of the words that Jesus spoke about 2 or more gathering in his name, whether it be at a wedding, a deck party, book club, or art gallery. And the words are, "There is love." Oh, that is really beautiful. That is really beautiful. This is a beautiful piece. I just love the wild mixture of different fibers. It's so, the texture is so tactile, it's so lush, it's so interesting. Melissa, for me, looking at your work, the color is the kicker. It's really the kicker. The amount of different colors you can put into something and still bring it off as being really high impact and effective is a complete mystery to me. It's really something instinctive and hardwired in you. This is like this is your gift. This is your special gift. And Melissa said, yes, it was a planned show, and I didn't have a place until Struts came along. So it's Struts with an S. I'm sorry, I keep saying Strut. It's Struts with an S Gallery. I do too, Jane. I love the colors in this. It's a very unusual color palette too. It's very soft, but the blue is very strong, the green is very strong, the pink is a big player. It's just absolutely beautiful. Melissa, what was the response like? Did you have a lot of people chatting with you and saying, oh, I really love this piece in white? Did you get any moments where there was like, someone said something that stuck with you where you thought, oh, interesting that they saw it that way? Or that's a hard question to ask you live. You can always answer me later, because that's a real particular question. But sometimes I love when people are looking at something and their sort of knee-jerk response to it is something that wouldn't have been mine. And I think, oh, that is so interesting. What an angle, you know. That can be a to be continued question as well. Another beautiful piece. This piece is called Blue Poppies. So Blue Poppies is 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty and thicker yarns and wool fabric, 9.5 by it says 2.5, 9.5. Oh, I see, 25. Okay, so it's 25 inches tall. Is it inches, Melissa, or is it centimeters? It's 25 tall and 9.5 wide. Long lanes of beautiful flowers, in this case blue poppies, are a reflection of my rural life in Athol, Nova Scotia. That's funny, I live on Athol Street in Hampton. Isn't that funny? Athol. People make a lot of jokes about that word. I don't know if that happens to you too in Canada, but I've plenty of jokes here in Connecticut on that. Just imagine a time traveling Elvis finding his way to this idyllic spot to find his geese. I'm starting to fall in love with Elvis just walking through these images. Honest to God, I am. I'm gonna put him on when I'm driving later and when I'm working on some orders before the composition class. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I just love this piece. So this is the Cadillac, right? This is the God's eye view of the Cadillac, the pink Cadillac, and you see the geese in it pulling in toward the house, right? And there's some geese out too, welcoming. This has, again, such a great mixture of like a high art piece, a gallery piece, but also it has this folky backbone to it with the cottage, it looks like a red heart on the door, with the beautiful composition, right? Layers of interest, and with this flat God's eye view of the cat that is really a vehicle, no pun intended, for the story of the geese arriving. It really is so beautifully executed, so thoughtful. And the story is what is really, for me, having this story to read along is making it so special. You see what I mean? When you know what the story is, and you're getting fed the story as you go, it's so much more meaningful to look and to interpret and to enjoy having that kind of information. You know, you're equipping people for success in looking. And Bonnie says, I had thought to the last rug you showed on Monday, the flowing blob bird rug, you just turned it again and it looks like an abstract woman wearing a collar. Bonnie, that's so funny. I remember we were talking about whether it was a bird, whether it was abstract, and you're saying you turned it one more time and it looked abstract like a woman with a high collar. And I could see that because there was that weird thing on the bird's head that we thought was maybe a crest, but it could equally be in a different direction like a collar. Interesting. I know just what you mean. It's so fun having these conversations because, I love talking about modern art and abstract art always because it's open for interpretation and conversation. Those are my two favorite things in the world, conversation and art, right? If we can put those two things together as often as possible, I'm very happy. Blue Poppies is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. The story continues. Don't you all feel like you're on a journey right now? Oh, and Melissa, I think this is the piece. This is the piece where I found you, right? And I was creepy and reached out. I saw this piece and I just went out of my mind. This piece is called Design. Okay, so this was from the Design Like class. Design Like Magdalena Briner Eby. And you wrote, when working in the Briner Eby style, I look for ways to block out certain areas of the rug in different colors. Now this is technical talk and this is important, right? So much of this achieved through the haloing effect, which is echoes, right? Doing echoes meaning hooking around your motif, right? Surrounding it like with sound waves, echoes, where animals, words, and other shapes are outlined at least twice, maybe more, in deeper or lighter shades depending on the animal or object color. That's very technical and it's very kind of you to give that information because for people who are approaching, right, design or rug hooking in general, it's great to have these technical tips. They are priceless and they are super meaningful. Usually the halos are organic in shape, giving the entire rug a more relaxed, childlike and natural appearance. I totally agree. What Briner Eby did out of necessity, including the use of lamb's tongues to break up larger areas into smaller sections for hooking with limited materials, I had to plan for at first. It became quite natural to me as a rug hooker who likes to incorporate color, simplicity, and romance as much as I can. And Melissa, you absolutely do. You're successful in doing that. And then you wrote, Magdalena Briner Eby, 1832 to 1915, lived in Pennsylvania, USA, throughout her lifetime. Her rugs, famous for their American folk art style, are now found in some of the most distinguished rug hooking collections across America. This is just such a beautiful piece. I think you took it a step further. You took I love, you know how I love Magdalena. You took some of her earthy colors, right, the browns, but you added some of your colors, right? This great, exciting balance, very romantic. The lollipop tree or the bouquet, right? Could be a tree, could be a bouquet, could be so many things. That motif, very, very famous and unique, very recognizable. You executed beautifully. And then you have a couple of lamb's tongues for her. You have her animals floating for her. And then you have the house, which is really the ultra sort of folky motif. But the way you boxed off that field of space in front of the house reminds me of an early sampler. And I just love that. I love that because you're bringing in lots of elements that for me are all 19th century elements. And you have managed to juggle two very distinct and different things in my mind, like the Magdalena motifs and the sampler motif. And again, that's my interpretation with your colors, right? You have got a lot of balance. You've got like a tightrope, high wire sort of routine happening here. I think this piece is absolutely brilliant. For me, this represents like the best of rug hooking. I love looking at it. I love thinking about it. I love looking at it again. It's absolutely beautiful. Jane says you have such an eye for color. You really do. You're very thoughtful, and that's why reading these descriptions is really helpful. You're very thoughtful about everything that you're doing. You work in a very loose style. You work in that great historic style. I'm like a broken record, but it's true. While you're working in a very loose style, you are very thoughtful about everything that your hands are doing. So your brain and your hands are working very well in tandem with each other, and that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's sometimes it's a bit disjointed, or there's some kind of a disconnect where you see something and you feel like the technique doesn't match the style. And who cares, right? Because we're talking about folk art. But for me, Melissa's pieces are very cohesive because the story behind them, the style, and the color are all done on a very high level, right? It doesn't, while it's folky, it doesn't have the feeling of being amateur to me at all. It's like gallery work. And again, that's why I feel like you are such a great crossover person between our worlds, the making rugs for fun that are like in the 19th century tradition and doing gallery work. You are like the poster girl for this crossover. This is another piece that just blows my mind. Now hold on. I didn't screw this up yet, Melissa, did I? I didn't screw this up. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, let me just, I feel like I missed something. I did miss something, didn't I? Oh, Melissa, I messed up the last image. The last one, I bet was, okay, wait a minute. Hang on. I think I might have missed an image or that it slipped. I'm going to wait for feedback for you. Oh, Deanna, leave it to you. Let me just check really fast our thread. I don't want to screw up the chronology of this because you did such a good job walking me through it. Let me see if I missed an image. I feel like I did. No, I'm good. Am I good? Is that possible? Is it possible that I didn't screw up? Hang on. Wait a minute, a little bit further. Hang on. Stick with me for a second. There's an interruption here. Have a sip of your cocktail. This is a gallery visit after all. No, I think we're doing okay. No, amazing. No, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I didn't screw up. Hooray! Sorry. Nope. Thank you, Melissa. I'm sorry. I just had this terrible knee jerk that I screwed something up. Another phenomenal piece. Continuing, right? Laura Ingalls Wild Sampler. Love the name. I love all your names. They're so descriptive. And they evoke exactly, I think, the feeling that you're meaning to evoke. Laura Ingalls Wilder Sampler 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty in thicker yarns, wool fabric, 40 by 20 and a half. And oh man, I just love this piece. I think this is a brilliant piece. The way that you have inset text, right? And then on the outside, it's like a border, but it is its own scene. And the way that you've done this kind of marble cakey fill behind the text with silhouettes of cats, with a silhouette of your collie down below. Is it a collie or a sheltie, your pup? And then the border, right? Same kind of feel to the ground. It's almost like you put like a frosted glass over the ground, right? And altered the color. But it's the same kind of feel in the green grass as well, in the real picture. And I love how the top of your cutout, where your text is, kind of ends in a point. And I'm sure you must have done this on purpose. That looks like a line that meets the horizon. Right? I mean, it's just an absolutely beautiful composition. Some birds in formation in the sky, some beautiful trees that look like they have like flowering trees, beautiful slanted salt box kind of a building, farm type building on the horizon, beautiful fill with like flower shapes, grass shapes. You wrote, the simple lettering I chose for this rug sampler enabled me to finally be successful at hooking text. it is a real thing, isn't it? It is a real thing. The text here is, I am beginning to learn that it is the simple, sweet things in life which are the real ones after all. Oh, that is so pretty. You know, Melissa, your text should always be your text. Your text is very consistent, and I always say this when we talk about text. Your text, I wonder if it's like your handwriting, right? Because I don't know other hooked text that looks like yours, and I think that in itself is a success, because when you look at a rug and text is a big part of it, right? It's a big part of what you're looking at. You read the words immediately, I think, before anything else. It's important, I think, for an artist, right? If you feel more like an artist than someone who's just hooking rugs, I think it's important for an artist to have a kind of a font or feel to the text, placement of the text, spacing of the text, and the shape of the letters. That really is kind of a signature thing, and I think you absolutely do have that. So you wrote, hang on, let me come back to this. Successful at hooking text, the combination of Ingalls Wilder's words and Bryner Eby's hooking style and images is not coincidental. What amazing women to have lived in the pre and post Civil War era, recording their lives through their individual art. The frame which embodies the quote was the starting place for me. The salt box and willow trees, cats and Sheltie. Okay, so that is a Sheltie. Surround the frame and Ms. Wilder's words with affection and love. It is my favorite rug to date after 30 years of rug hooking. Ah, that is also good to know. Which one is your favorite? I love this. And Judy says, Melissa, the color shift between the background and the text block has me glued to this tiny phone screen. That's a really great compliment. God, that's beautiful. And the colors are beautiful. Melissa, this is like, oh, God, this is incredible. I love all of them. This one is really incredible. And now I love it even, I loved it already. Like, I loved it, loved it. I love it even more reading what you wrote about Ingalls Wilder and Bryner Eby and their lives as women at this time in history, right? Very turbulent. Yeah, very turbulent, and a lot of expectation placed on women, particularly rural women, right? Both of them were very rural women. A lot of expectation, because in these days, you know, you would be expected, if you were living in a rural setting, whether you were wealthy or not, you would fully be expected to help with things around the house, around the yard, in the outside world. But you are also expected to do your work inside, right? Whether you had children or not, married or not, that interior world of the inside walls of the house, that was you. And if something needed to be done in the field, that was also you. And men didn't, I'm not on my soapbox, but men didn't have that same dynamic. Their world was outside, and they entered a woman's world on the inside. And women at this time balanced an extraordinary amount of responsibility. It must have been incredibly stressful, just a lot. Another beautiful piece, the Blue Horses, 2 and 3 ply wool yarn. I'm sorry, 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty and thicker yarns, wool fabric, 34 by 13 and a half. And this is another one that really brought me to you, Melissa. I knew you, but I hadn't seen these yet. And when I saw these two, specifically Magdalena ones, I was like, wow, really, really, really drawn. Simple Magdalena, horse shapes of blue standing on either side of the Eby tree. I like that. The Eby tree, that's a great way to put it. Is my nod to Mary Oliver's poem, Franz Marc's Blue Horses. I remember this from gallery night, remember, because I looked up the poem and we read it that night. That was such a beautiful cocktail night. Simple lettering spells out the word pairings that I remember so vividly from the poem's reading. Kindness/beauty, light/love. That really says it all. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. This is essentially a monochromatic piece because we're looking at a palette of blues, and the browns and the creams and the black, those are neutrals, right? So those aren't players in the game. We are looking at a monochromatic palette, and it has a remarkable amount of color, change, color shift, right? There are lots of illusion with colors in here. It's very, very, very fun, funky, weirdly contemporary and historic at the same time. Absolutely beautiful piece. I will certainly run over today, but I logged on a few minutes late, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, now this is the next segment of the show. I'm just wondering, because I have a bunch more, I'm wondering if I should log on. No, let's do it. Let's do it. We're in it, right? We're in it. I don't want to break the continuity either. So the next segment is called A Personal Approach. And you wrote, and let me come here before we look at the piece. You wrote, "It has only been the last few years that I've become comfortable with exploring and talking about the strength and vulnerability and the challenges of belonging in a world doesn't always accept the marginalized. In 2019, my partner of 30 years passed away suddenly, leaving my daughter and I to begin a very long journey without him." I picked this up from your Facebook group, so this is really a choker from your Facebook page. "Rug hooking has saved my sanity during the really difficult times, and provides a powerful healing as our lives move forward without him." Whew, okay. Whew, all right, give me a second. Let me have a drink of water real fast. Okay, so this is the first one of that series. It is called After Counseling, 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty and thicker yarns, wool fabric, 9.5 by 10.5. And you wrote this quote, "I can no longer imagine not having control over my own story. Came to me after nearly 2 years of grief and trauma counseling through talk therapy." So, really powerful piece. Powerful, I think, in its quietness, right? With this kind of subject, right? Very, very emotional. And you're describing a point, like a jumping off point in life, or some kind of a crossroads, where things had been very traumatic. Understatement, right? The grief and trauma overwhelming, I'm sure, beyond overwhelming. No words for that. And you kind of expect with these really big emotions to have wild colors, wild movement, very, very dynamic anger, high emotion. And this piece is so calm and quiet, and it's totally choking me up because it's I think it's the way. Okay, hold on, I'm losing it. I'm sorry. It's the way life is, isn't it? Sometimes it's like the Stephen Sondheim song, "A Quiet Thing," from, I think, Flora and the Red Menace. It's a song that Liza sang. It's a beautiful song. It talks about how, in life, you expect some big moments to be loud, and hear trumpets and hear band and applause and noise, fireworks. And sometimes the most important and most highly charged emotional times in your life are very quiet. And even when you come over the speed bump or the hill or the mountain or wherever you are, whatever the problem is that got you there, sometimes it's very quiet when you arrive at the other side. And I think that is a huge surprise, right? Because it's not what you expect. And I think this piece really reflects the quietness of that coming to peace, right? Getting past that grief and trauma, right? So instead of being a loud screaming composition, it's a very simple, soft statement, a very peaceful image that's easy to look at and personal. I think this is a beautiful piece. Whew. Okay, next piece. Sadie, 2 and 3 ply wool, specialty yarn, thicker yarns, cotton craft yarn, 15 by 20. Sadie is an old soul and she can appear a little wilted, but do not be fooled. She has places to go, if only in her imagination. So I was looking at the text on this. Tell me if I've got any of this wrong. I'm reading it as she, and I didn't know if this was a lyric. I saw Elvis and I wondered if it was one of his songs. And also Sadie, because I'm not enough of an Elvis fan so far to know, but it seems like the text says she's a bit of a wasted sunflower. Sadie loves home, Elvis, old lace and velvet, and then I think that's your signature. Oh no, and then what does it say under velvet? I see Buddy, right? I think Buddy is a pet. This is another piece I just love. It's so cool. I love the hearts. I love the character. I love the shape of the eyes as well. It has the eyes are like very anime hearts again. I love that. Very unusual. I've never seen any image that looks like this. It's so super Unique. It's super fun, super lively, very hopeful, very fun. Is this like Melissa, if this is not too personal a question, is this like an alter ego kind of a character, Sadie, or is this a real person that you're thinking of, or maybe it's based on a song? I absolutely love this piece. I love where you outline. I love where you don't. I love shapes that get muted and softened, and that become a bit abstract. I love the parts that you can read easily. I love the balance between those two things. Right? It's not the low hanging fruit. Right? ED stands for Emily Dickinson. Oh, okay, excellent. Emily Dickinson. I think we talked about that before, and I also forgot. Good, good, good. So yeah, well, your text is there, and I do like your text. I really do. It's you. It's consistent. It has a sketchbook quality to it, and I like that. I like that. It feels very personal. It doesn't look like calligraphy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't look like big bold letters. It doesn't look like I'm being screamed at. Hello, Marilyn. Great to see you. It looks personal. It looks like you sketched this and you said, and it's almost like I'm looking over your shoulder at your sketchbook, and that is it's a great feeling. I feel included being able to look. Next piece is called Wait for Me. This is another piece that I really, really love. Recycled knit and cotton clothing, 22 by 16, a nod to automatic writing. This piece depicts a talking board, an early spiritual talking device, and a pencil. Oh, the planchette, right? And a pencil for writing messages from beyond. Wait for me is what appeared on my burlap canvas without thought. Now that is so cool. That is so cool. Again, I hadn't read your text until I was live. See, I shouldn't do this because I end up choking myself up, and it's hard to run a show in a professional way. But yeah, it's fun to discover these things with you live as well. I didn't realize there's the pencil, there's the planchette, right? Planchette. Absolutely love it. When I saw Wait for Me, right? I love your interpretation. It's not an interpretation, it's the genesis of the rug. But my interpretation was, as soon as I saw Wait for Me, it made me think of that musical, I think it's, what was it? Orpheus in the Underworld? No, it's based on Orpheus in the Underworld. What is it called? Um, if you know, put it in the thread. But I saw it as a musical not that long ago, and I love the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. But that whole thing with Orpheus, and I guess it would be Euripides, right? When they're leaving the underworld, and they are allowed to leave together as long as he doesn't turn around, right? It's like one of these great heartbreaks in the history of literature and myth. That gave you the shivers, Judy, right? Um, but there was that whole scene and song and story where they're singing a song, Wait for Me. And that's what I immediately thought about, because that is like one of those moments in theater that I'm still tortured by. But I love the actual story of this even more. This is really magical too. I wonder if this will go into your sort of paranormal exhibit. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's so much fun. We did this in the design, like the women abstractionists class. That was maybe 2 or 3 classes ago, and I did do a segment of automatic writing where people just kind of gave privacy, but you could do like a blindfold or not, because this is how one of the designers that we were looking at during that show, Hadestown. Thank you, Judy. That was it. Love that show. Heavy and hard to take, but love it. Wait for Me. But there was a segment where we did some automatic writing that I thought was interesting, because I tried it too, and it's something that you have to practice. But it is a great way to make your head and your hand physically connect. And I guess if you work on it, Melissa, maybe you have a more experience with this than I have, because I have not been working on it, and I would like to. When things are quieter again, I think it's a great form of meditation when you're sitting there and you're just, and yeah, and when you don't know what's going to come out, it has that sort of magical, mystical, spiritual element to it. And if this is what came out, then this is a great way to work on compositions. This is absolutely beautiful. This next piece is called Dear Elvis, recycled knit in cotton clothing, 19 by 6. 2 years ago, I began writing letters to Elvis Presley as a way of sharing thoughts and ideas with a person to whom I have always loved and admired. This tiny rug floods me with memories and huge emotions, as the King and I have gotten through a number of harrowing experiences together. He continues to be my closest and safest confidant. I suspect he always will be now. Oh, God, this is so good, Melissa. This is so good. Oh, it's so good. I mean, again, I hadn't looked at the text, and going through this with you, I feel like I'm walking through the Struts Gallery, but it's also so cohesive. What an experience you presented to people. Like, what an experience. Another beautiful rug called Matte Rags for Missy. And this is 2 and 3 ply wool yarns, specialty and thicker yarns, wool fabric, 12 by 12. The handwriting of a loved one is perhaps one of the most personal and painful memories one can come across. God, that's so true. Oh, I love to hook handwritten notes. It is such a beautiful tribute to those we have lost. Matte Rags for Missy is one of those notes belonging to Catherine, my neighbor, whose light I looked for every night for 20 years. She also collected the perfect wool sweaters for me with which to hook. Oh God, oh God, oh God. This is so beautiful. But I'm looking at the wrong image. I'm looking at the wrong image. I am so sorry about that. I did that out of order. That was a mistake. This is Matte Rags for Missy. Melissa, I'm so sorry. I immediately looked up and realized that I was looking at Mary Druid. I'm so sorry. Matte Rags for Missy. So it's, I think it says all of my, or wait a minute, all of my rags, Missy. Is it all of my rags, Missy? Absolutely beautiful, sort of hit or miss piece. Great text. This is the thing about hooking someone's handwriting. It is super personal. It reminds me of that whole conversation. This was a tour guide conversation where we were talking about Native American culture and how one would never, rightfully take a picture of a Native American person, particularly back in the day, because they believed it took part of your soul. So if there were pictures, they were ill-gotten pictures because that was not something that you were meant to do. All wool matte rags for Missy. Oh, I just love how you have captured part of Catherine with, I'm sorry, not, that's right, wait a minute, give me a second. Yes, belonging to Catherine. I love how you have captured the handwriting, right? And we've seen this once in a while in rugs from, I'm thinking Rug Hooking Magazine Celebration, but I don't think we see this often enough, using someone's handwriting, because it is a form of coding or symbolism too, isn't it? It's I don't want to use the word appropriation, right? Because it is their handwriting, right? You cannot appropriate because that has aggressive overtones these days. But I love, it is a piece of them, isn't it? It's a piece of them. And I immediately thought of what my dad's handwriting looks like, which I better not think of if I'm going to get through the show. But it was really different. It was his, and it was completely illegible. It was of that generation. It was very, very tight, and it would be really hard to execute. But if I could do something like this with his handwriting, for example, or my grandmother's, my God, that was even worse in terms of being legible. It was completely not. But I love the idea of using someone's handwriting to do a mat like this, because the words are for you, right? The words are for you. The handwriting is for you. This is a tribute to a person who is in your heart always. And I just love all of the sweater rag, the raggy feel to it, the lamb's tongue bottom, right? Really, really beautiful. It also has a slight memorial feel for me because the lamb's tongues are only on the bottom. It reminds me a little bit of like a graveyard. I hope that's not a bad association or a bad thing to say, but I quite like it. Yeah, it's very moving for me. Again, it's very soft, a lot of watercolor feel. You've got a lot of structure in the hit or miss sides, which is absolutely perfect. I love that it does not have a border all the way around it. I love that. But in your background, it's very loose. And this is you all over. Like that contrast between very sort of geometric and organized, right? Very rigid, to being very, very loose. You balance these two things like nobody I can think of. I think this is really, really you. And I'm loving all the handwriting that you do. Self-portrait. Wait a minute. No, I missed Mary Druid. Let me go back. I'm sorry. I put those out of order. Mary Druid, 2 and 3 ply wool yarn, specialty thicker yarns, 25 by 36. I call this my pre-quill rug, and it's been a long time coming in more ways than one. I first received this Deanna Fitzpatrick Studio Pattern, DFS, about 20 years ago as a gift from my mom. It was destroyed by a cat accident. Oh dear. The pattern found me again in 2022. With a few alterations, the woman in this rug became Mary Druid, a spirit writer, shown here picking blueberries, on land by the Mackin River bank in Athol, her blue handkerchief flying in the wind. She has an amazing story to tell. Stay tuned. Ooh, Melissa, this is foreshadowing to the next show, isn't it? Mary Druid is a great name. Gosh. And she is a real person, right? Melissa, I'm not even going to research that. I just want to wait till your show. I want to wait until you do all these kinds of interpretations. Um, and I want to see everything first through you. But I absolutely love the way that you're pulling from um, these sort of spiritualist sources, a little bit of like mystical feel to them, right? I am one of the world's great magical thinkers, right? I really am, and I'm always blending religion with like my magical thinking, and it's not like my own philosophy; it's just the way I operate, right? Everybody has their own way, so as long as I'm not hurting anybody, right? I have a lot of craziness built in, but I love pulling from all these different sources for inspiration, and I love spiritualism. I love mysticism. I actually took at a graduate level literature classes that had to do with Victorian mysticism, and I sat through. I think I told you about one of those with the talking table, but I didn't see a table talking. Just to be clear, I'm not that far out, but I just love this subject. I love this subject that borders on the paranormal. It's very very interesting to me, and I can't wait for October for lots of reasons. Now, self portrait. This is your self portrait, which I also really really love. I have another image for this as well. Now, Melissa, did you do text on self portrait, or this was just like this is self portrait and we get it because it's you? I love the anonymity of this. I love the hair. I love the sort of do rag on your head, the handkerchief. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to do this right for more context because another one that I poached from your Facebook page. You are so pretty. Absolutely love this piece. Absolutely love this piece. It is so fabulous. I just love your style. I really love your style. And I just wanted to show this was the exhibit. This was the exhibit. I love Mary Druid. I don't know if I spent, I don't, Marilyn, is that the one you meant too? I didn't spend nearly enough time on that, but I have a feeling we're going to see that one again in October. And I really, the blueberry angle too, and with the kerchief hanging off the head, just very atmospheric, right? Very, very um, shades of the mystic, right? I just love it. I love it. A lot of atmosphere, a lot of mystery. So beautiful piece. And because I was like, trolling and culling, and on your Facebook page, I remembered that you did this incredible series of mug rugs. We were doing this. Remember when we were doing this live in coffee time? I kind of forgot that we did this for a while. Where there was a few coffee times where I was just hooking and chatting, like a hook along. I guess it morphed into the monthly hook alongs. But I remember you did more than this. I feel like you did a bunch because every one that you posted, I'm like, you seriously, you got another one done, and each one was like amazing. I don't want to say better than the one before because I love all of them and I love them as a set. But I remember that you did these, and I thought, oh, these are gorgeous. And you were working on this piece, and I couldn't find the finished one. I was in a hurry this morning. This is one of my patterns, so I felt really proud to see this. And you had a little bit left to go when you were doing this with the pumpkins, right? The pumpkins along the path, because this is like a fall design, and a little bit left in the sky. But you did finish this, and I have to find that picture. This is a pattern called Old Guardians, and you can see that. And this is so like hooked by Melissa, right? This is like it's no longer my pattern. This is you. You used your daughter's clothing, I think, for hooking the trees and stuff, right? A lot of patterning. We looked at this, I think, I think we looked at this on a cocktail night. That's probably where I had it. But imagine those little circles, right? Being filled with pumpkins and the sky being completed. It was an absolutely beautiful piece. But the trees have outstretched arms, right? They're almost like guarding the house. So I have this in the description. Everything I mentioned that I sell in this video is in the description of this video. But that piece, Old Guardians, when I drew it, I loved the idea of it, and it was a bit magical for me. And I just couldn't see how to do it until you did it. Now I feel like I'm not going to do it because I feel like yours is the definitive, and I'm busy. So yours is the definitive. I feel like you killed it with that. It was such a beautiful, everything that you do is so you. And that's the thing, isn't it? That's why I love you. I love your work. I can't wait until October when I can hopefully see you in person. Your work has such a flavor, right? And like all of these layers to who you are, right? You seem like a super spiritual person. And it seems like you pull from a lot of different areas too. And I just love that. Just feels so much emotion, so much color. You are such a proper artist with a capital A as well. And I'm so happy that you are working in rug hooking because again, you bridge between these weird islands that we can be at between, I hook patterns and I show in galleries. That's a weird bridge. That's a weird bridge, and it can sometimes be a negative space where we can't identify. It's like a Dr. Seuss story, but you built that bridge right there, and you are on that bridge all the time for us. So I love looking at your work. I'm super grateful that you sent those images in and that we could take that trip around the Struts Gallery in Sackville, New Brunswick with you. It was absolutely beautiful. I wish I could have been there in person. Wish I could have surprised you and walked in while you were sitting at your frame in the corner. That would have been a great moment. But it's coming up soon. It's coming up later this year in a different setting maybe. I am incredibly happy that you did too. There's so many people in our group at this point. Melissa is like a shining star. We're just sharing so many ideas and so much inspiration. And I think that's why we're seeing a little uptick in the popularity of, I'm not taking credit for it at all. I'm giving you the credit because this is a large group now. And there are so many people who are doing great work. Melissa is doing phenomenal work, right? We are all working at our own pace, according to our own timeline, talents, interests, everything. But it's just great to be able to find each other, both online like this, but also in person, like at the Struts Gallery. So, yeah, it's a great community. I'm so grateful to it. I'm so grateful that you sent those pictures in, and I'm so grateful that we got to take that trip with you, because I really feel like I've traveled this morning, which is fun. It's a fun feeling. I will be traveling at 4 in the morning. So make sure that you look on Facebook and also YouTube, right? And I will be recording videos the whole time that I'm away. And cocktail night, I'm asking you to send in your gallery images. To be honest, I'm not really hopeful that I will be able to run a show on Friday, but I do need the gallery images because I need to start putting the next show together. I won't know what my internet situation is for Friday night gallery night or cocktail night until I check into the hotel tomorrow night. So it's very hard to say at this point. It might be that I can put together a show, even a 1-hour show, and be with you. It might be that I don't trust the internet, and that always is so stressy for me when I log on and I don't know if you can see me, and we do this whole who's on first routine. I don't like doing that. So I want to be sure that if I am running a Friday show that we will see each other and it is pretty reliable and stable. So that is a to be continued. But certainly be looking for more information, a big question mark on Friday, and be looking for a lot of live videos that are happening between now and Sunday, because I'm traveling between Thursday and Sunday. I'm popping out a bunch of orders this afternoon. I'm waiting for a couple of things to get the next wave of Split Bloom Gardens out. Everything will arrive in time, I promise you, or I will run more classes. So I'm getting everything out as quickly as I can. And yeah, lots of visits, lots of looking at other brands, meeting some of our friends over the next few days. So be looking out for announcements as we go. If you need me, I'm at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Have a great tomorrow, everybody. Look for those announcements, and I'm sure that I will see you sooner rather than later. Huge shout out and thank you. Sending tons of love to you, Melissa. Thank you for this great episode. Loved the work. Can't wait to see more, and I will see all of you soon. Can't wait to see all of your work. Send it to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com for gallery night so we